Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files. Hope you having a good night. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So let's get straight to it.
A group of time travelers are messing with our timeline, interrupting viral memes and classic vines, stopping them from ever happening in the first place. If we don't stop them soon enough, they'll be invading today's videos and we'll never get. Big surprise, it's all AI, which is low-key even scarier because they're taking over the entire internet and soon AI videos might be all we have. You probably missed it, but the internet actually died 8 years ago. At least according to a theory going around saying that almost everything you find online doesn't actually exist. Articles, channels, videos, posts, even me right now is all fake. The dead internet theory. And we see this already happening in real time on the most popular social media site in the world. You know, the blue one. It's getting bombarded by AI content created for the sole purpose of engagement and keeping viewers scrolling for more. The never-ending slot machine of addiction, flicking that thumb for your next dopamine jackpot. Pretty much every social media platform. Photos like these show up on the timeline, clearly AI generated, but somehow have thousands of likes and extremely generic comments from moms and aunts. But what if most of these people aren't even real? Because these pics get weird. As AI learns what gets the most likes and comments, it slowly starts to notice patterns of what sort of content to continue to generate. One of these patterns was kids in Africa building stuff, like this house with no door. Now, to tech-savvy individuals like you and me, these are clearly AI and quite laughable at that. But to some, I guess it's the most amazing thing they've ever seen. It's almost like the AI is trying so hard to appear human, generating images that combine the most emotional aspects of humanity into one. Poor, starving African child builds inspirational monument with all that he's got left around him. Which leads us to the next and probably the most successful style of AI photo art there is, Jesus. Yes, the AI learned that if it includes Jesus in its photos, they are almost certain to go viral, clearly figuring out that it can bait people into engaging with its content by playing with their emotions and beliefs. And they just keep getting more and more ridiculous, which makes you think, is an AI actually coming up with the prompts themselves too? Because I don't know anyone that would ever think that shrimp Jesus would be a viral hit. Look at the comments and they're all saying the same generic things. Are they AI generated as well? Even the actual profile, display picture, bio, likes, everything can easily be made with AI today. That would be AI coming up with prompts to generate AI images posted by a bot to a Facebook page with AI generated captions and tags that is liked and commented on by mostly bots. Robots making content for other robots. Welcome to the dead internet theory, my friends. The entire web is dominated by soulless bots and AI, but is this even a theory anymore? For argument's sake, I'll say yes, it is, but we really are seeing it unfold before our very eyes. And this is just with photos. What's gonna happen when AI video generators start becoming more accessible and just start getting better and better? Will we be able to generate viral hawk twa girl level memes with a single prompt? Full AI channels with AI generated scripts, voiceovers, people, and entire 30-minute AI videos themselves. And this is already happening. Unlike Photoshop and advanced video effect editors of our past, these AI tools are extremely easy to use and anyone can make them. Give it a few more years and we'll be able to AI generate an entire $100 million blockbuster movie from a couple prompts, only for it to get watched, liked, and commented on by other bots. Studies already show that only about 50% of web traffic is actually human and it's getting smaller every year, with some estimates putting that number closer to 36%. If you look close enough on any platform, you can see these generic comments posted by very generic looking accounts. Hell, we definitely even have some in this video. You down there, Ashley? The dead internet theory was thought up in 2021 and states that around 2016, the internet started having content that was normally made by real human creators generated by bots. And this was in 2016. You can only imagine how much more believable the content is and how much quicker it's happening right now with ChatGPT, Midjourney, and DALL-E that anyone can use. Maybe it'll get better, but as of now, there's something empty, soulless, and just downright creepy about AI content that just doesn't have the spark of life that real videos used to. You see, the internet wasn't always the way it is today. Back in the early days, it was simply a collection of online pages that just existed, and anything you wanted to find, you had to intentionally seek out, or get it sent to you by a friend, or even just stumble upon it by complete random chance. Today, everything is determined by the algorithm that shows you what it knows you like, creating an echo chamber of your own beliefs and views. The internet is run by AI guy who has one job: keep you looking at your screen for as long as possible so you can keep watching ads and keep buying stuff you don't need, serving the ultra wealthy elite class so they can stay in power and we stay mindlessly strapped into our own matrix, while feeding them the most valuable resource of our world today: data. Now this is where it gets tin-foil hatty, my specialty, so take it with a grain of salt. A rock of salt. DARPA, a research and development agency of the US Department of Defense, actually started a program called LifeLog back in 2003, with the goal of logging people's entire lives, everything they like and buy, everyone they talk to, and so much more. Mass compiling this data and using it to, quote from their official goals, exploit these patterns to ease its task. Basically, find patterns in human behavior on an individual level and exploit them for its own benefit. The Pentagon spent millions of dollars on this project, only for it to get shut down by civil rights groups for privacy violations on February 4th, 2004. We sure dodged that bullet now, didn't we? Not quite. Cause you know what else was founded on that very same exact day? Yup, the big blue social media giant, founded on February 4th, 2004. Search it up if you don't believe me. A tool that is designed to farm data, that is now fed to bots so they can generate and interact with content that is data engineered to keep us addicted and distracted from the real world. Soon enough, entire channels, or even pages like this one, might be fully bot operated. Who knows, maybe I'm even AI generated right now. At our current rates, some projections reveal that by 2030, 99 to 99.99% of all online content and interactions will be run by bots, and the internet will officially be dead. Only people like you can save it by being the beacon of human hope in a sea of bots.
Shout outs to Phil Pixel. Now that's what you call a rabbit hole right there. I had a friend bring this to my attention as far as AI recreating memes. What's areas that AI is making content for bots. Like, yo, it's like a parallel universe inside our devices. Good stuff.
We may have just witnessed the end of Joe Biden's presidency last night, and there is a lot of panic as to what happens now. You see, in this year's debate, CNN did everything they could to make it easier for both candidates. They let them know the questions a week in advance. They didn't allow an audience. And they even had special microphones that would cut if you tried to interrupt the speaker. But despite all of this, Republican, Democrat, Independent, everyone seems to agree on one thing right now. That debate was not good for Joe Biden. And it's not even that Trump had the best performance. He's on record lying multiple times. But at least he was coherent. Joe, on the other hand, to put it lightly, stumbled, rambled, he was unclear, and often just stared into the distance. Now, everyone expected Trump supporters to capitalize on these mistakes. But even staunch Biden supporters are shell-shocked right now. When CNN discussed it, they said in the Democratic Party there is a deep, wide, and very aggressive panic right now. Van Jones said,
"That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. But he had a test to me tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base. And he failed to do that."
Former Democratic senator on MSNBC said, "I'm not the only one whose heart is breaking right now. I don't know if things can be done to fix this." Even the Vice President, Kamala Harris, said, "That was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point." Then the elephant in the room was addressed. Van Jones went on to suggest that Biden should step aside and let the Democratic Party have a different nominee for president, which is a call that you're now seeing more and more. And the press, as you can see by how they surrounded California's governor after the debate, anticipated this too. However, when asked, Gavin Newsom said that he will not be replacing Biden in November. And what's more, to try and replace Biden now would be very difficult, if not impossible, because under the current Democratic Party rules, if he does not choose to step down himself, it essentially won't happen. So the question is, can Biden restore voters' faith in the next debate and carry out 4 more years? Or should he step aside for someone else?
It's possible. Got off to a slow start, definitely. I didn't know that they had the questions in advance. I think this is like a 12-round fight, and he didn't win round 1. Doesn't mean the fight ain't over. It's very interesting.
For the first time ever, CNN sided with Trump after fact-checking Biden and confirming that he told 9 straight-up lies during the debate. At first, he said only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. That's confirmed false. And $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare when it's actually $35. Then he said $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's actually $2,000. And border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. I think we all know that's not true. And it doesn't end there. He then said employment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4%. And then he tried to claim Trump wants to get rid of Social Security, which CNN themselves confirmed was false. And the list goes on. He then tried to claim that billionaires only pay 8.2% in taxes, which is not true. They pay way more than that. Then he claimed that Trump told Americans to inject themselves with bleach during the pandemic. That was made up. And then he said that the Border Patrol endorsed him, to which Border Patrol themselves tweeted live during the debate that they would never endorse Biden.
Shout out to CNN for keeping it fair straight down the middle, telling it like it is. For the first time, CNN has sided with Trump. Never would I thought I'd hear that.
Donald Trump just released a brutal 95-second advertisement showing how bad Joe Biden's debate performance was last night.
Both sides, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans. The impact on the choice, the idea that they're gonna. I'm proposing that everybody the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
Am I the only person that got a really weird feeling during the debate last night? We'll come back to this. So after last night, earlier today, this happens. Ron Klain and Barack Obama are having a sit-down meeting with the president today. And Joe Biden is insisting that Joe run, the same one who said, "Well done, Joe. You answered every question." But the thing is, CNN has always lied to us like all their friends. But now they're saying the truth.
Anderson, this was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside?
And just as CNN said last night, they surely did have a meeting with the president today and Barack Obama. Even the Young Turks who blatantly lie back to back to back. They're all going against Biden. Now, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of people that said Joe was not going to finish his term. Now, if you know me, you know I don't really do politics, but it seems like they're all in lockstep. My question, I know Obama has ran twice, right? But is there a chance that Joe can pass legislation to get him in again? And you can say the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but one of those rights is free speech, and we see that being trampled on. By the way, at face level, that degree is holding y'all down. You know, I can't say a lot on here, but what if we really did see Obama again? By the way, if you haven't seen this, go check it out. 2 videos back, or on my YouTube or on my Facebook.
Shout outs to Inspired by the King. I myself was definitely surprised by that shift when it came to the majors. I would say this is a weird time altogether.
Check this out, y'all. Look at this. Y'all seen this? Do y'all see that? Hold on, let me slow it down for y'all. Check this out. Remember, they said these people will start showing themselves. Do you guys see that? Bro. And that's not a filter neither. Because as soon as she seen this, like she tried to hide her face. Y'all see that? It's literally like Blade, bro. Are you kidding me? Bro, look at her hands. Look at her hands when it comes out the jacket pocket, y'all. Look at, again, she tries to hide her face. They literally are amongst us. Look at that, huh? Bro, when they said we were going to start seeing these people, I didn't think it was going to be this quick. But look at that, y'all. It looks like Baraka from Mortal Kombat. She literally looks like Baraka from Mortal Kombat. And she's tall too, bro. She's lanky. So what do you guys make what's going on here? Again, he ran into her when he was on her way home, trying to ask her what kind of music she listened to. And he was met with this surprise, and she was surprised as well, y'all. Look at this, y'all. It's crazy. I told y'all, our life is a movie. The movie they live is now starting to show itself, y'all. The movie they live, right? The people with the eyes to see are going to see clearly now who really are these people. Age of Aquarius is going to show you some things you really aren't ready for, y'all. But let me know what you guys think about this video. This video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. I am only raising awareness to interesting situations during this interesting times. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Like, comment, and share for more videos like this. Thank you for tuning to my frequency. Let's get this shift.
Bro, for real, shout out to Conscious Juice. Her hands kind of look crazy. I don't know what to say about this one. Maybe it's a skin disorder.
This man claims he found a fossilized dragon in his backyard.
Here, y'all.
So it may look like a stone at first, a big piece of stone. The more he shows, the more I'm less convinced it's just a stone.
This piece right here.
Okay, it definitely looks like it has a head and a body to it.
There's his wings. There's his wing right there. And then this is a wing appendage. It's cracked right here. It's got 3 feathers. Yeah. Claws on the other side. Here's his head, man. Up close. See that? And rest again. Here's the other side of his mouth.
Pretty convincing to me. Not saying it is real, but you never know.
His head, just like Godzilla would look.
That is insane.
There's his claw.
Dude definitely found something odd on his property.
Yeah.
Wow. Stay weird, y'all. Thanks for watching.
I ain't gonna lie. To me, it looked like it was shaped like a dragon. The face, the head, the neck. Does that mean dragons were in America? I got a lot of questions.
The world is not what you have been told. We once had access to free energy, and they've been lying to us ever since. There is significant evidence showing that Nikola Tesla was on course to changing our universe forever. In the early 1900s, Tesla developed a technology called the Wardenclyffe Tower. This was more than just a transmission tower. Tesla designed it so it was able to wirelessly transmit electricity across the globe by harnessing the Earth's natural energy. He was able to power his home and devices without a single wire. But here is where it gets dark. Tesla's invention threatened powerful individuals who controlled the energy market. J.P. Morgan, who initially funded Tesla, pulled the plug on the project when he realized that free energy couldn't be metered or monetized. But it gets even stranger. Tesla's lab mysteriously burnt down, and many of his notes and prototypes disappeared. Tesla's discoveries went beyond just wireless electricity. He hinted at tapping into what he called radiant energy, a limitless source of power derived from the very fabric of space itself, similar to what modern scientists refer to as zero-point energy. Many say that this is also how the Tartarians were able to pull off so many of their technological and architectural feats. Do you think this tower is still in use today?
Nikola Tesla was a genius. I'm sure it's not being used, but still has the capabilities. It would definitely be nice right about now.
So one morning, the employees of this pizza restaurant, they all show up to their shift. But today, the restaurant is empty. Like no one had showed up to open it. Now the franchise owner, normally he's there to unlock the place. But this time, he isn't. In fact, no one had heard from the guy in several days. Now shortly after all that, police, they go to the owner's house to do a welfare check on him. And they knock on the door, but no one answers. So they walk over and they look in the window, and that's when they see a body on the floor. Now the guy, his name's Hal. He's 51. And one day, he hears about one of his former employees, this girl, Sarah. He hears that she's having a rough time in her personal life. She's got some depression, her parents are splitting up, and some other horrible stuff. Sarah's only 17. So Hal, he decides to call her, and I guess console her. And she tells him she's been having problems with her parents, so he's like, alright, why don't you come live with me for a while? And I'll take care of you, and I'll help you get your life back on track. So then, bam, Sarah moves into Hal's house, and they become roommates. And so far, it's going pretty well. Cause Hal, he's like the cool dad. He always keeps booze available for her, and apparently drugs too. He even offers to pay $6,000 for the nose job she's always wanted. And so to Sarah, this seems like a really good deal. Until, after 6 months in this new living situation, Hal comes to Sarah and he hits her with some devastating information. He tells her that he loves her, and not in like a fatherly way, in like a romantic way. And since she's 18 now, he feels like it's appropriate to go ahead and make a move on her. And so Sarah, she's like, oh hell no, and she shuts him down. But from there, Hal doesn't let up. Time goes on and he keeps trying to get with her, and she keeps saying no. And then one night, he gets frustrated and he threatens her. He says if she doesn't hook up with him, he'll kick her out of his place. And poor Sarah, she has nowhere else to go. So that night, she gets blackout drunk and she finally gives in. And then later, after they're done, Hal wants to ensure that it happens again. So he gives her an ultimatum. He's like, listen, if you're gonna keep living here, then you have to pay rent. And he also tells her she needs to reimburse him for food, gas, cell phone, car repairs, her dog's vet bill, and of course, that $6,000 nose job. And obviously, Sarah can't reimburse him. She doesn't make that much money. So she keeps on smashing with him because that's sort of her way of paying him. And this new smashing for payment routine, it keeps going. It continues anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, and Sarah just hates it. And aside from that, Hal just doesn't treat her well. He belittles her, he threatens to sue her for the money she owes him, he takes her paychecks away from her when she gets them, so she has no money at all. It sucks. And then at some point, he tries to pay for her to get breast implants. But the doctor they go to refuses because she's so young. So then Hal decides to get her butt implants, which cost about $10,000. Not to mention, she doesn't really want them. But she ends up getting them, and he expects her to pay him back for the cost of the surgery, which of course means more coerced smashing. And of course Hal is a total creep. He goes and he starts bragging to his friends about how awesome it is that he bagged an 18-year-old. The whole thing is just gross. But all this really starts taking a toll on Sarah's mental health, and pressure starts building up, and she feels like she's going crazy, like she's a caged animal, and she doesn't know what to do with all this rage. And she starts freaking out, and she buys a rabbit from a local pet store, and she like unalives it with a knife, and that doesn't help her feel better at all. So then finally, after living with him for 10 months, Sarah just snaps, and she decides she's gonna unalive Hal. So then one night, when Hal isn't paying attention, she gets some sleeping pills and she crushes them up and she puts them in his beer. And he drinks it, and about an hour or so later, he passes out. Then she zip ties his wrists and ankles, and she gets a large hunting knife, and she unalives him right there in his own house. And for the first time in a long while, Sarah finally feels free. So much so that she uses Hal's blood to write freedom on the wall of his house. Yeah, I know, this story's weird. But then she steals Hal's car and she joyrides to Florida. I mean, she knows the police is gonna be after her soon. She just wants to visit the ocean one last time before it happens. So she visits the ocean, and then 11 days later, police catch up with her. And boom, she's arrested. Here's her mugshot. So she goes to trial, she's convicted of first-degree murder, she takes a plea deal, and she's sentenced to a minimum of 50 years in prison, but later it's reduced to 25 years. Shout out to Topeka.
Shout out to Topeka. Yeah, Shorty just flat out snapped. Yeah, she was in a bad position, but man, her mental health was bad. Writing freedom on the wall, this was one sad story. What did the rabbit do wrong, though?
This gigantic sea creature that the Bible warned us about was just spotted on Google Earth. In Isaiah 27:1, the Bible details about a giant serpent sea creature named Leviathan that will continue to roam the sea until the end-time judgment of God. God also tells us in Job 41 that this creature is untamable, frightening to look at, undefeatable with any weapon, and can only be destroyed by God himself. Now here's where it starts to get very creepy. Recently, people started noticing on Google Earth that a large formation of what looked like a giant sea creature started appearing and actually displaying movement. On top of this, an anomaly bigger than ever reported before was being detected, sending off mass alert, which which was leading many to believe that some giant sea creature in the earth was awakened. Strange activity was also being reported from other sea creatures, as massive amounts of whales were swimming to the shores, unaliving themselves due to some unknown fear. As the biblical end times are approaching, strange activity is going to continue to occur because God is allowing this so his people would wake up and repent to his only son, Jesus Christ. The Bible spoke about these events long ago, and this is God's final warning before immense judgment is poured out on the entire world.
Shout out to Big Nick. Yeah, it seems like everybody done caught on to this Leviathan wave with the anomaly. A lot more people are beginning to pay attention to it.
Have you ever wondered why our ancestors, in every culture around the world, built pyramids? The mainstream narrative is that these structures were chosen for their stability and ease of construction in primitive times. But here is where it gets interesting. Take a closer look at the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's made up of over 2 million blocks, each one uniquely crafted to fit precisely in place. This challenges theories like floating blocks up the Nile or using mud ramps. Imagine the trial and error involved if a block didn't fit, yet there are no spare or broken blocks lying around. What's even more fascinating is that the Great Pyramid encodes significant mathematical and astronomical knowledge. From its dimensions, you can calculate the Earth's circumference, distance to the moon, and even the speed of light. So how did ancient civilizations achieve such precision, and why did they build these pyramids? The emerald tablets speak of manifesting solid matter using cymatic frequencies and photons. And recent experiments have proven this to be possible on a much smaller scale. It is understood that Thoth manifested pyramids across the world to be used as power plants. Many of these pyramids sit on top of aquifers, which allow for the pyramid to generate physiostatic electricity. So what did Thoth use this electricity for?
Very interesting subject. Emerald tablets. Learning more about them every day. Billy Carson vibes.
The Egyptian artifacts make absolutely zero sense, and archaeologists might just be afraid of being wrong. How is it the further back in time we go, the more advanced they get? Egypt is old. Like, really old. Egypt is so old that even ancient Egyptians studied ancient Egyptian history thousands of years older than them. When the Romans discovered the pyramids, they were older to the Romans than the Romans are to us today. Woolly mammoths still roamed the earth when they were first built. And of course, everyone knows that Cleopatra lived closer to the invention of the iPhone, or hell, closer to you watching this video right now than she did to the construction of the pyramids. What's strange is that as time went on, their artifacts somehow got less and less advanced. The Egyptian Empire reigned for about 3,000 years, divided into approximately 31 dynasties classified into the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms. When we go back to the first 5 or so dynasties, the Old Kingdom, we see impressive feats of design engineering unlike any other. And impressive is an understatement. These are straight up machine perfect down to the micrometer. Like this round vase, perfectly balancing itself dead center on a point no larger than the tip of an egg. Except this isn't your pottery class vase made of clay. It's granite. And granite is harder than steel. That's a fact. Here are the numbers. Here's another vase, slightly chipped, revealing its walls are as thin as a playing card. Another bowl made from diorite, a stone as hard or even slightly harder than granite, whose walls are literally 1/40th of an inch or half a millimeter thick. We have no idea how to make granite pottery like this using known ancient methods, although high-tech machines could probably do the trick. But I don't think you realize how insane it is to suggest that this level of mechanical precision was achieved on granite using primitive tools softer than granite, the official claim. And these are just a few. There were over 40,000 of these artifacts found under the Step Pyramid of Djoser dating back to the 3rd or 4th dynasty, with some suggesting they're actually pre-dynastic, meaning they're even older, and the Old Kingdom Egyptians just inherited them from a previous civilization. Oh, we're in too deep now, Johnny boy. It's only in recent times when we finally analyzed them with modern light scanning technology that we found out how mind-bendingly precise they really are. They took a jar, did some measurements in a lab, and to this day, Egyptologists have no explanation for these results. The top of the vase was 3/1000ths of an inch away from being perfectly flat, something only possible with like CNC machines today. For reference, a sheet of paper is 7/1000ths of an inch thick. A human hair is 2 to 3. This thing was a literal hair away from being perfectly flat. The inside lip of the vase's mouth was 1/1000th of an inch away from being perfectly perpendicular to the top, which is a mathematically flawless right angle. And the entire vase base was 13 thousandths of an inch, which is still just like 2 sheets of paper away from being perfectly circular. These are legit CNC machine level perfections, mass produced over 40,000 times on a material harder than steel using copper and stone tools by hand. Oh, and they might be pre-dynastic before copper tools were widely even used. I don't see an ounce of logic in that. Okay, maybe this one was just a fluke, right? A one-off perfect vase as a result of mass producing over 40,000 of them. So they took more into the lab and found even more astonishingly accurate measurements, revealing alleged machine-calculated mathematical use of pi, the golden ratio, and more, again to within thousandths of an inch of accuracy. That's like that much. Everything from the flatness of the base, the roundness, and even the uniformity of the thickness of the walls was nothing less of CNC machine perfection. Justifying this by saying they were just really skilled or they had a lot of time does not explain this level of precision with the known tools and methods at their disposal. There are even some vases that are reportedly made from corundum, which is magnitudes harder than granite and sits right behind diamond on the hardness scale. Although this one is for some reason debated, a lot of people claim it isn't made from corundum, but still others insist it is. A single one of these pots would have likely taken weeks, if not months, given modern explanations. Shouldn't there be evidence of their highly precise techniques all over ancient Egypt? Oh, there was this. A hieroglyph outlining the sculpting of an alabaster vase, one of the softest materials ever, softer than marble, and totally possible with their tools. But it's been proven that the technique outlined here would not work with granite. Sure, cutting into huge slabs using rough and painstakingly slow techniques using those tools might be possible, as we've seen them desperately trying to prove, but the force of friction required to achieve that simply would not be possible on small, delicate artifacts like these, never mind how machine accurate they are. Some of these vases are as small as a thimble, not even practical, and even harder to make, almost like they were just showing off, like, look what we can do. One theory is that these vases were spun on some sort of grinding tool, for which they have no evidence, no recordings of, but that's completely blown out of the water with the lug handles on the sides here. It's pretty obvious that these wouldn't be possible from spin grinding. Absolutely no one can explain how these lug handles were made, which again, lab results showed that they too were perfectly symmetrical and level to each other to within thousandths of an inch. Later dynasties even tried recreating these jars, and although still impressive, are nowhere near the precision of the earlier ones. This level of advanced pottery is said to have reached its peak in the first 2 dynasties, and then poof, they just forgot how to do it, which leads people to believe these artifacts might be much older than anyone thinks. What if they inherited them from even earlier previous civilizations? And it doesn't end with these. There's also the schist disc crafted from a single piece of stone. Tell me, what kind of stone can be shaped like this by hand? No one really knows what this is, said to be a bowl or a flower holder of some sort, even though it looks sort of mechanical. Recovered from a first dynasty tomb, and again thought to be even older than that. Then we get to the statues, and these somehow make even less sense. The face of Ramesses at Luxor. Several of these statues were made in honor of the pharaoh Ramesses. Engineer Christopher Dunn noticed that there was something off about these faces. They were perfect, but almost too perfect, and not in a human way. He took a photo of the statue head, made it 50% transparent, flipped it, and overlaid the left side on the right side. Doing this, he discovered the face was perfectly symmetrical. Centerline measurements confirmed this too. It's like half the head was carved, then copy-pasted to the other half. We see consistent eye-to-mouth profile ratios across all of these statue heads. Something that we'd likely do with like 3D modeling programs today. Computer accurate precision. Same thing with the crowns on their heads, and this wasn't done just once, but repeated among many statues. This isn't something that anyone could just eyeball, but experts insist they were all done by hand. Professional sculptor Mike Leckie even wrote in a letter saying that his modern diamond tools would have been well worn out before barely even starting to sculpt something like this out of granite, and states that it would have been borderline impossible to repeatedly achieve this level of accuracy time and time again using only the tools we have evidence of. What machining technologies did ancient Egyptians or even earlier civilizations before them possess that archaeologists just simply refuse to even consider?
Yo, that's crazy. Shout out to Phil Spixel. Number one, it's crazy that they found a golden ratio in those creations. Thinner than hair, thinner than paper. You know, Billy Carson be talking about them symbiotics. And looking at these statues, like, yo, what if they're like the mountains and the dragons we be finding in the rocks, petrified? I don't know, it makes you wonder. It makes me wonder. Yo, when the video started, I can't front. I was like, yo, is that Michael Jackson?
Have you ever wondered why ancient Sumerian gods are often depicted wearing what looks like watches? They seem to appear in countless carvings and sculptures, dating back to 4500 BC. So, what could these possibly be? The watches are often seen on the wrists of gods like Anu and Enki, and they were not timekeeping devices. They were a form of advanced technology, used for communication and even energy manipulation. Imagine a device so powerful it could control the elements and even alter reality itself. But it gets even stranger. They are also depicted with handbags. These items are not only seen in Sumerian art, but also in art from ancient Egypt, Central America, and Turkey. Some theories suggest these bags are portable repositories of knowledge, and that they contained tools or devices used for creating and maintaining the cosmos. These depictions are often connected with the Anunnaki, and they prove that human society was far more advanced in the past than it is in the present day. Our ancestors carved and drew what they saw. It was not a figment of their imagination. They carved animals, plants, and structures that all exist. Yet people seem to think they imagined these watches or handbags. What do you think? Were our ancestors more advanced than we give them credit for?
I believe they were, definitely. I definitely want to watch like that. It's like in a more advanced Apple Watch. Way more advanced.
So did I miss the part where they said women were actually going to be drafted? Because why did they just drop a map of the U.S., of the states, and if they're going to automatically draft women or let them opt out? And when I tell you it's not looking good, it's not looking good. I just want to know, when did we skip over the do women give a... I mean, I know all of history has been do about women, but I think we should have a say in this, maybe. And then again, why is the age to draft women significantly lower than it is to draft men? So since we won't have babies, we have to go to war? We can't fucking win. But let's look at this map and the states by states of who will automatically be drafted. Allegedly. I don't know if it's still allegedly. I think it's like for real, but let's just see. All right, here's a new post that just dropped today. Well, I should say news article. But it says the U.S. House and Senate are considering legislation to include women in the country's draft laws after the House passed the annual National Defense Authorization Act last week, allowing a bipartisan measure to make draft registration automatic. Because remember, they slid it in with that bill to raise military spending. It says if the amended policy were to become law, women in the following states would join their male counterparts and being automatically registered for the Selective Service. I've seen this movie. It's called The fucking Hunger Games. Yeah, so I want you to know that if it is blue, it's not good. Automatic sign up for the draft for women is the blue here, and that is all of these states. You see that? All of these states? Yep, and then no, you wouldn't automatically be signed up is these states here, all your influencers, this here. You see how that's significantly less than everybody else? Okay, and then opt in are the pink, these small states, Illinois, or that's not Illinois, it's Louisiana, I think. I don't give a shit. It's still wrong. All these pink. And then opt out. You have to go and opt out. These small orange states. Yeah, that's a lot of people. Here is a list of all the states that will automatically opt women into the draft. Wow. And it gets longer. It gets longer. Other states, including Iowa, Kentucky, New York, and Nevada, allow people to opt out, while places such as Idaho, Indiana, Maine, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, New Hampshire, and Washington allow people to opt in. The last time a draft was activated was in the 1970s during the Vietnam War. I've seen this game, and I don't want to participate. I don't want to be in the Hunger Games this year. This is good news. Share it, save it. Ladies, share it, save it, so that you know which state to move to. Mwah.
Shout out to Asia June. Yo, that was very insightful. The color chart was very interesting.
So one day, this guy goes on a TV show, Divorce Court. He and his wife have been having problems lately because apparently he's been cheating on her.
Were you cheating on her, Mr. Burns?
Absolutely. And I told her. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I was cheating on her.
Now his name is Ronell, and he's obviously been cheating, but no one knows who he's been cheating on his wife with. However, it's speculated that it's this woman, Kiana. And people speculate that because shortly after this episode of Divorce Court, Ronell leaves his wife and he starts dating Kiana. Now, between Ronell and Kiana, they have 8 kids, which is a lot. And it's expensive. But that's fine, because Ronell and Kiana, they have all these side hustles to keep them afloat. She owns a couple of hair salons. She's also kind of an influencer, so she's always flexing online to all her followers, while he is an entrepreneur. And he has an online business where he coaches other entrepreneurs. So he's also always flexing on social media too, like trying to show off how successful he is. They're also both apparently super religious. In fact, one of his side hustles is that he owns his own ministry business.
Because we focus and we know why God put us on this earth, and it's to make an impact on people's lives.
So anyway, Ronell and Kiana are about to be real successful. So they get married and they go into business together.
Hi, I'm Ronell Burns, and this is my lovely wife, Kiana Burns. Hi. Today we're going to talk to you about entrepreneurship and how it greatly benefited our life.
And things appear to be going pretty well for them. And like Ronell goes out and buys her a new Maserati, and they're all posting about it on Instagram. But at one point, this is all not enough, and they want to raise their online profile even more. So they try and self-produce their own reality show called Meet the Burns, and they shoot a whole promo for it.
America, you ain't gonna want to miss this. This is my wife, Kiana.
Mrs. Burns.
And of course, in this show, they make sure to portray themselves as the successful business owners they are.
Baby, we gotta move fast, baby, because it's time for big business.
And so these two seem to be doing really well. They're like the ultimate influencer power couple. Until. Here's the thing. Ronell and Kiana project a lot of success online. But behind the scenes, things are different. They're actually struggling financially. In fact, almost all of their business ventures are failing. The only semi-successful ones they have are her hair salons. But apparently that's just not enough to keep them afloat. Mostly because they've been spending a lot of money on stupid shit in order to flex on social media. And soon enough, all this spending catches up to them. And they've racked up over $500,000 in debt. Debt that they're just not able to pay back. So then, boom. They file for bankruptcy. And this really sucks for them. But of course, they don't post that part on social media. No, they keep flexing and projecting that image of the ultimate entrepreneur power couple. And they act like nothing is wrong. In fact, 2 years later, despite their financial troubles, they decide to move the whole family to a bigger city. One where they'll have even more business opportunity. Atlanta. And of course, while they're there, they keep flexing online. And they just keep spending money. And they rent a huge 5,200 square foot house with 5 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. And they allegedly tell their followers, not that they're renting it, but that they bought it. Now, despite them projecting all this success online, again, behind the scenes, things are different. The big move to Atlanta just doesn't seem to be going great for them. And it's been particularly hard on Kiana, who's been having some really bad days since she moved there. And to make it worse, at some point, life just drops a bomb on her. She finds out that Ronell has allegedly been cheating on her. Similar to what he had done to his previous wife, now he's doing it to her.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, she don't.
And of course, this sends their marriage spiraling into a rough patch, and they start talking about divorce.
We talking about, we just didn't want to do this no more. She was tired of me. I was tired of her. If we're going to get a divorce, let's be civil. We got kids. We got businesses. We said, well, let's just sit down and just talk about how this all going to work out.
And then, allegedly, at some point, Kiana retaliates for his cheating, and she ends up cheating on him. It's a whole mess. And then, sadly, after only living in Atlanta for 5 to 6 months, they end up filing for divorce. And according to the divorce papers, he's in the process of moving out. And all this bad news hits Kiana really hard. She thought they were gonna live happily ever after, and it just didn't work out. And so mentally, she's been struggling, and she just can't hide it anymore by projecting all this success online. And suddenly, the tone of her posts start to change.
And the reason I'm going live is because sometimes you gotta reach out and tell people that you need love, you need support, you need care, you just need a hug. And honestly, you guys, I need that.
And so Kiana starts to get more real, more emotional. One day she even posts, "God knows I would do anything to wake up from this nightmare." Then, about 2 weeks after that post, Kiana and Ronell are at the house one night. I guess he hadn't fully moved out yet. And as you can imagine, things are tense, and they get into an argument. And it gets bad, like really bad, and things get physical. In fact, this fight gets so bad, one of the daughters ends up calling 911, and she reports domestic violence. But at some point, Kiana just can't take it anymore. And so she goes, and she gets a pew-pew, and she points it at Ronell, and she pulls the trigger, unaliving him. Then she calls the police to report what she had done and to say please send help. But before first responders can get there, Kiana turns the pew-pew on herself, and she unalives herself too. That's a sad one. Shout out to social media.
Yo, I was not expecting that ending right there. Shout outs to social media. Shout outs to the real Ray Williams. What a story. Now that was a shocker. Sounds like a lyric in a Kendrick song.
History is different than we've been taught. Look at these pictures of ancient structures in America. Why are they all so huge? These massive ancient structures weren't just built by early humans. They were built by something else. And the Smithsonian Institution has been hiding evidence of this for decades. The Smithsonian Institution is accused of systematically hiding evidence of giant bones to maintain the current understanding of human history. Reports from the 1800s and early 1900s describe the discovery of giant skeletons in America. Mainstream archaeology attributes these bones to prehistoric humans, but some believe they are the remains of giants known as the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, an advanced extraterrestrial civilization mentioned in ancient Sumerian texts, are said to have come to Earth and created a race of giants to build massive structures. These giants are linked to enormous ancient structures found across America, such as the Great Serpent Mound in Ohio and the Cahokia Mounds in Illinois. The precision and scale of these structures suggest advanced engineering skills far beyond what we believe early humans were capable of.
One sec, just calculating the odds that Donald Trump actually is a time traveler. And they say he pulled it off with the help of Nikola Tesla. Hey, someone get this nut job off the internet already. Listen, I'm about to spit a series of pure facts, as I usually do, that support this insane theory. Even I found this one hard to believe at first, and it may not be true, but the evidence was just getting harder and harder to deny. Feel free to fact check any of these and make your own independent decision on what you think. You ready? For real, let me know if any single one of these points is not true. Nikola Tesla was an imaginative inventor in the early 1900s with a keen interest in time travel. That's a fact. According to reports, in 1895, he made a shocking discovery suggesting, not confirming, that time and space could be influenced by magnetic fields. After which he's quoted as saying he could see the past, present, and future all at the same time. When Tesla passed away in 1943, the FBI and Office of Alien Properties seized his research and handed it to a team for study, among whom was John G. Trump, Donald Trump's uncle and a well-respected electrical engineer at MIT. This all actually happened. John G. Trump claimed Tesla's documents did not include new sound workable principles or methods for realizing any results, which may be trying to downplay what Tesla's work was truly capable of. In 1952, after a U.S. court declared Sava Kasanovich, Nikola Tesla's nephew, the rightful heir to his uncle's estate, Tesla's files and other materials were sent to Serbia, where the nephew lived, and they now reside at the Nikola Tesla Museum. But while the FBI originally recorded some 80 trunks of documents among Tesla's work, only 60 trunks arrived in Serbia. Maybe they packed the 80 into 60, but there is the possibility that someone kept the missing documents. So, John G. Trump receives 80 trunks of Tesla's confiscated documents, some of which have never been shown to the public, and only 60 are returned. Keep this story in mind, because we barely even grazed a tip. Now, a lawyer and writer named Ingersoll Lockwood lived in New York City around the same time that Tesla did, in the late 18 to early 1900s. In the 1890s, Ingersoll Lockwood wrote a book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, which just so happens to share the same name as Donald Trump's son. The book is about an aristocrat boy named Baron who lives in Trump Castle, who gets bored of his life of luxury and decides to go on an adventure. Baron comes into possession of a 15th century manuscript titled A World Within a World, written by a man named Don, who sort of acts as a spiritual mentor throughout the story. Through this manuscript, he travels to Russia to find a portal that leads him into the hollow earth and go on a time travel adventure. A pretty standard work of fiction, but an awful lot of coincidences in there if you ask me. Then in 1896, Lockwood writes another book called 1900, or The Last President, in which an unlikely wealthy candidate becomes president of the United States. In the book, no one thought this person would win, so riots break out in New York City claiming, and I quote, "The Fifth Avenue Hotel will be the first to feel the fury of the mob." Trump Tower happens to be on Fifth Avenue in New York City. In The Last President, the president also announces a Secretary of Agriculture named Pence, the same name as Trump's past vice president. Then, when he runs again in 1900, an uproar arises and the Capitol is struck by dynamite and destroyed. A fiasco in the Capitol building following an uproar from a presidential election. Where have we seen that before? The official synopsis of the book claims it laments or mourns the Democrat Party's socialist platform of 1896. Hey, I ain't touching that one. And finally, a quote near the end of the book reads, "As the dawn broke cold and gray, and its first dim light fell upon that shattered dome," referring to the Capitol building, relax, "glorious even in its ruins, a single human eye filled a gleam of devilish joy, looked up at it long and steadily." A single human eye? Gleam of devilish joy? What exactly are they talking about here? In a book written over 120 years ago, almost like it knew what was gonna happen in the future. During a time which Tesla was toying with time travel, whose documents were seized by the uncle of the person named in the book and sorta outlines his political career. The theory goes, meaning this part right here is not a fact, John G. Trump took Tesla's documents, used them to make a time machine and shared that tech with his family, who then used it to travel through time and warn the world of impending doom through a series of books. Why be so cryptic about it and warn the world through books instead of just outright telling us? The time traveler's dilemma. If we're outright warned by someone from the future about some impending doom, the perpetrators of that doom will come up with another plan as their original one had been foiled. Crazy, 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 insane, ridiculous nonsense. Time travel is impossible, and it never will be, right? Famed PhD physicist Michio Kaku doesn't seem to think so. Quoted as saying, "Once confined to fantasy and science fiction, time travel is now simply an engineering problem." In 2003. Might be possible is still very far from confirmed, but it also means it's not 100% impossible. Even the Google debunker's beloved Snopes fact-checking website calls this particular theory mostly true, deriving the mostly from a handful of nitpick technicalities, like Dawn isn't his real name in the book, it's just a title for a man and such. One coincidental fact? Sure. 2, 3 maybe even, why not? But 14 factual coincidences with absolutely no connection whatsoever? What are the chances of that? Hey yo, somebody run those facts back and let me know. I think they're catching on.
14 different coincidences. That's crazy. Those 2 books right there. Definitely want to get my hands on them and check them out. It's crazy if we get time travel before GTA 6.
Why are they hiding this? Look at all these huge buildings in Italy. Do you actually believe normal humans built them? And why are there giant tombs in Italy that nobody speaks about? There's an unbelievable explanation for these huge structures, and it's going to shock you. The island of Sardinia was not just a home to ancient people, it was inhabited by giants. But here's what's crazy. In ancient texts, there are references to huge beings, which says, the giants walked the island and built massive stone towers. This is where things get scary. Hidden reports suggest gigantic human-like bones have been discovered in these tombs. Mainstream archaeology says these bones are the Nuragic people, but some believe they are the remains of an ancient race of giants. These giants are linked to a civilization called the Nuragics, which lived between 1900 and 730 BCE. They built the Nuragis, which are large stone towers, and the amazing giants' tombs. The giants' tombs, or tombe dei giganti, are megalithic graves found all over Sardinia even today. Local legends speak of giants having enormous strength and advanced knowledge. They constructed the Nuragis and other megalithic structures easily. But once these connections were discovered, the true story was buried to protect conventional history.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these structures are sleeping giants. Yeah, that's my first time hearing about the new rejects. Rejects, however you want to pronounce it. Definitely got to look more into that.
Thank you very much, Jim, for this opportunity. I want to thank Governor Romney and the University of Denver for your hospitality.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon, is the man I'm looking at right now.
But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office.
Thank you, Jim. It's an honor to be here with you, and I appreciate the chance to be with the President. And congratulations to you, Mr. President, on your anniversary. I'm sure this was the most romantic place you could imagine, here with me. So congratulations.
Having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Take a minute, sir. I didn't have sex with a porn star.
Tuition low for our young people. When it comes to our tax code, Governor Romney and I both agree that our corporate tax rate is too high.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because he made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it. The total initiative wrote. I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
On energy, Governor Romney and I, we both agree that we've got to boost American energy production.
And, well, by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it? That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all. I was an 8 handicap. Yeah. 8. But I had, you know how many... I've seen you swing. I know you swing. Yeah, let's not act like children. President Trump, we're going to... Let's not act like children. You are a child.
First, education. I agree. Education is key, particularly the future of our economy.
The whole world is blowing up under him. Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Kim Jong-un, we sent love letters to, and Putin, etc.
Taxation. We agree. We ought to bring the tax rates down, and I do, both for corporations and for individuals.
Molesting a woman in public. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it. Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner.
I also believe that we've got to look at the energy sources of the future, like wind and solar and biofuels.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
Do we embrace a new economic patriotism that says America does best when the middle class does best? And I'm looking forward to having that debate.
The fact that today, Obama and Romney are both still younger than Biden or Trump is just sad. The golf debate was the peak.
They did it. The Supreme Court has officially overturned Chevron deference. This is probably one of the most important Supreme Court decisions in modern history. And if you don't know what Chevron is, that's okay. They don't really teach it in schools, but I'll explain it to you. I graduated from Yale Law School, where I focused in constitutional law, so I'll try to decode this rather simply because you need to know how this works. So basically, Chevron deference dates all the way back to 1984 in the Reagan era. It was a major Supreme Court case having to do with the EPA, where the court essentially ruled that where a rule or statute is ambiguous, the federal courts must defer to an agency's interpretation of that rule. Most day-to-day life and functions for you and I are run by federal agencies. For example, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, makes rules about clean air and the environment. The FDA makes rules about food, the CDC, the Department of Education, the Department of Transportation. We have the FBI, the IRS, the VA, the list goes on and on. They essentially run our country, and that's who we, the people, interact with the most. Now, here's the kicker. The leaders of these agencies are not elected. They're appointed by the executive branch, the president. Which means when a president or the administration changes, the rules and the leaders of the agencies generally change. So they'll flip-flop from Democrat to Republican, and back again. Anyway, most Republicans and Libertarians absolutely despise Chevron deference. They believe it gives government and agencies way too much power, and especially for people who are not elected. Still, the idea is that these people are experts. Doctors, scientists, whoever, and they should know best how to interpret the rules. And because there are so many rules and so many functions and so many people in the United States, it just makes sense to have experts and specialists cover them. But the court today completely did away with that and said, nope. The case is Loper Bright Enterprises versus Raimondo, who is the Secretary of Commerce. The court's holding is highlighted below. The APA requires courts to exercise their independent judgment in deciding whether an agency has acted within its statutory authority, and courts may not defer to an agency's interpretation of a law simply because a statute is ambiguous. Chevron is overruled. The decision was split 6-3, conservatives on one side, liberal justices on the other. And Kagan in her dissent is like, this is absolutely crazy. She writes, what actions can be taken to address climate change or other environmental challenges? What will the nation's healthcare system look like in the coming decades? Or the financial or transportation system? What rules are going to constrain the development of AI? The court has basically taken all regulatory power away from these agencies in the federal government and placed it into their own hands. This also gives power back to private organizations and corporations. For example, say the EPA has a rule about where you can dump your waste in products. And BP or some other oil company is like, hey, we don't like this because it's super expensive. We're just going to dump our oil wherever we feel like it, wherever it's cheaper. This makes it a lot harder to control their actions. This is most likely going to save a lot of money for some very rich people.
Does this pic look familiar? It's the Backrooms, and there's a guy that claims to be stuck in them in real life. The Backrooms are a liminal space just outside of our reality that you can't escape from. Liminal spaces are essentially the uncanny valley, but for settings instead of people. Liminal just means being at the edge of something new, right before it really starts. The in-between. The uncertainty that occurs after something has just finished, but the next thing hasn't started yet. Like the period of time between Christmas and New Year's, or standing in the middle of a doorway. way. A liminal space is just an in-between area, a setting that appears to be transitioning from one phase to another, like a basement before someone moves in, an empty school hallway at night, or an office without furniture. You look at these spaces and there's something missing. There's no people, no focal point, almost like a place that we shouldn't be looking at, which makes it feel somewhat unsettling, creepy, yet oddly familiar, hence the uncanny valley aspect. They usually come with a sense of nostalgia too, a place from your childhood or even a dream that you so vaguely remember. One of the OG viral liminal spaces was this one, an unsettling image that just felt off and we can't quite put our finger on why. Strangely familiar, but also a little uncomfortable to look at. Originally a post on 4chan, no one knows where this photo was really taken, but there are some who claim they actually found the spot. This particular liminal space became known as the Backrooms, a place that you can fall into if the conditions are just right. So you can consider the reality you're in right now the front rooms. And if you're not careful, you can accidentally no clip out of this reality in the wrong areas and end up in the backrooms. Clipping is a video game term referring to two objects going inside of each other. No clipping just means passing through the boundaries of playable area and ending up outside of the game's world. The backrooms is what they say we'd find if we no clipped out of our reality. Weird yellow tinted rooms with musty carpets and endless fluorescent lights that are, according to lore, 600 million square miles, triple the total surface area of Earth. That's including oceans. A liminal space that goes on for all intents and purposes forever. These signature backrooms gained popularity through a viral video series by Kane Parsons, shot through a lo-fi VHS style filter, which adds to the nostalgia factor. Even coming across other spaces like an abandoned apartment courtyard or the empty basement. It's a fictional space for all we know, but more people are coming across strange finds suggesting they may have actually found the backrooms for real. Like in Japan on Google Earth, zoom in and you see a space that looks exactly like the backrooms with a strange hole in the floor. Same thing in none other than Antarctica. Go to Street View and we see the familiar yellow rooms. And this one also down south that almost seems to continue the same hole from Japan. People are starting to think that these backrooms are actually real. One guy's even stuck in his own liminal world and he's showing us proof. Imagine you woke up one day and found out you were the only one left on Earth. This Spanish TikToker Javier insists to be just that when he allegedly woke up in a hospital in Valencia, Spain in February of 2027. Claims that at some point between now and then, everyone on Earth just disappears. Raptured maybe? And for some reason, only he remained and can communicate with the past, us, through online mediums like TikTok. Sounds like a stretch, I know, but no one can explain how he's pulling any of this off. He walks through fully empty grocery and department stores, even full-blown soccer stadiums, incredibly empty street views like this one, and even electronic devices he shows displays the year 2027. Despite being in a city with a population of about 800,000 people, he even enters random apartments and hotels, walks around in large outdoor public areas only to be met with emptiness. Liminal spaces. If this was fake, it would be incredibly difficult and almost equally impressive to pull off. He jacks a cop car and drives around entire neighborhoods, visits military bases, all completely abandoned. Even the zoo has no animals and no birds flying in the sky, like anywhere. Comments try to catch him in his act by challenging him to go to active public hospitals, popular restaurants, all during peak hours. And he does it all just to prove the deniers wrong time and time again. Dead empty hospitals, restaurants, and even shows street signs that display the time in the middle of the afternoon. Was he actually transported into his own liminal universe? If you do some digging on the TikTok page handle, you might find out that this person, Javier, may actually be part of a production team working with the city of Valencia on an online project, which could be what's giving him access to all these public spaces completely empty. Sort of like an ARG, augmented reality game, where viewers follow along and suggest what he does next. But even if that was the case, how do you explain the empty active hospitals, stadiums, neighborhoods, zoos, no animals or birds anywhere? If this really was a project cooperating with the city, surely tens of thousands of citizens would see huge areas blocked off and spill the beans online. I can't imagine in what world you'd be able to keep an entire city silent about massive public spaces being closed off. Not gonna lie, this alleged project is pretty hidden and the account itself denies affiliation with any stage series. Always do your own digging and learn to create your own opinions. Don't ever just take anyone's online word for it, even mine. I'm sure the comments are crying either way, insisting it's 100% fake and I'm misleading even though I just admitted it might actually be fake. Nothing's ever for certain, always keep your mind open. Who knows, maybe he actually did wake up in the year 2027, filmed all this, and then it was covered up as a media project to keep everyone calm. You knew I couldn't resist.
Man, that was a good one. So much to unpack. Shout out to Phil Pixel. Yeah, I love the backrooms. It's highly entertaining. It's crazy how you can look at it and describe the fluorescent light. You know, the carpet looks musty, you know, the bad wallpaper, the yellow-green tint. I feel like liminal spaces are really creepy, especially alone. I remember that time traveler in Spain. I always wondered how he was able to pull it off. I lean towards it being fake, of course. But like Phil said, could you imagine?
This world is not what you have been told. The Great Pyramid of Giza is not simply just a giant stone structure built by primitive cultures. They've been lying to us. There's significant evidence suggesting that the pyramids were once covered by a flood. The beings who built these structures knew how to harness the Earth's energy and had a profound understanding of the stars. All the pyramids are aligned with the Orion constellation, hinting at their superior astronomical knowledge and their potential in converting celestial energy into usable power. But here's where it gets even crazier. The materials used in the pyramid's construction were no coincidence. The Nile River used to flow much closer to the pyramids than it does today. Satellite imagery and geological studies suggest that ancient channels of the Nile once brought water directly to the base of the pyramids. The pyramid's base is made out of conductive granite blocks that are filled with quartz crystals. The quartz has piezoelectric properties, meaning it is able to generate an electric charge when under pressure. The massive weight of the pyramid creates this constant pressure, therefore producing a continuous electric charge. The Nile's water acted like a hydroelectric dam. Its movement generated electromagnetic energy. Together, water, quartz, and granite were able to produce electricity. The capstones, which are now missing, also played a crucial role in this energy system. They acted as the pyramid's transmitter, collecting and directing the energy produced and possibly transmitting it wirelessly. These were not merely tombs built by slave populations. They were advanced energy machines. Just think about it. Why would a tomb need electricity?
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. If you haven't already, please take a second just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.